back to Piney Grove, folks. My name is Brad, and I'm out here on our 20 acres in Northwest Florida. I'm out here on the farm today to get some things done. I've got to deliver this stuff or put this stuff behind me in my truck in my parents' house. So I got their microwave. I've got, they wanted an island with a sink, so we had to provide the sink and the faucet. So we bought all that. So I got to dump that in their house this morning and then get to work on some projects I want to get to work on. But before I dive into that, if you're new to the channel or you haven't watched our introduction or you've watched it and forgotten it, we're a couple looking to figure out what we're going to do in that second half of our life. I'm retired military. I retired about 16 years ago from the Air Force, and my wife and I both, Mrs. Piney Grove, aka Deb, we both work for the Department of Defense. And as we get to that point where we feel like we are financially able to leave those jobs, we are trying to figure out what it is that we wanted to do. So we're in a coastal town. We live in a coastal town. I've been in the same house for 24 years there. Panama City, Florida. It's a great place to live. It's relatively small compared to a city like Atlanta or Orlando or something like that. But it's still a lot of people, just under 200,000 people in the county, and it's growing. We've had a good run in Panama City. We bought this property out here after a 1-year search, and we've been developing it ever since. So for 4 years, we have invested, I think we're up to like 1,200 hours of sweat equity in addition to, you know, the financial part of building this place out. But just wanted to let new viewers know and remind older viewers that we're weekend warriors. So what you see in these videos are what we're able to do on Saturdays and Sundays and holidays, and occasionally I'll take days off to come out here and meet with contractors or to do work. But we're not out here living full time. We just can't. We don't have an interstate system in the area, so it would be a solid 1.5-hour drive on a bad day, hour drive on a good day for us to commute back and forth to work. And that's each way. It would be an hour to 1.5 hours each way. And I'm just not trying to sit in my vehicle that long. The appeal of living in the country while we still have good paying jobs is very appealing, but it's not something I'm not willing to sit in my vehicle up to 3 hours a day to do it. I was in DC, I was stationed in DC, and I had to deal with that, and I don't want to deal with that. But mainly what you're going to see on this channel is developing this land. Deb and I are working with our equipment, with our tractor, with our excavator, with shovels, with rakes, and just kind of building this out and doing what we can and preparing it for what contractors can do for us. But I think you'll find a lot of things interesting, and our goal here is to show folks, especially folks that maybe come from a non-country environment or never have been around that and think they want the country life, to show them what it takes to get there. There's just a lot of things to do in the country, and we want to kind of show what it takes to take a raw piece of land. This is 20 acres of pine trees planted in a row, like I think they're 10 feet apart, and just 20 acres of that. So everything you see in these videos are things that we have had done or that we've done to create these open spaces, to create these buildings, to bring in the infrastructure like the road, the fences, the electrical, the water. A lot of those things we're going to do ourselves. I've got to put in 120 feet of water line to this house that we're building for my folks. We put in the electrical last week, or at least the conduit for that, but I'm going to run the water lines. I've got a lot of electrical lines I've got to run for the pole barn. There's just a lot of things I'm going to tackle myself. So anyway, that's a quick update or a quick primer on who we are and what we're doing out here. But like I said, today I got to get these appliances in that house, and then I want to show you the area out front that I want to work on while it's nice and cool and I can run a chainsaw. You don't think inflation is real in 2022? What you just saw me unload was over $1,000. That was a convection microwave that goes above the range, and a sink, just a little sink for the island, and the faucet for the sink. Over $1,000 right there. It's ridiculous. All right, what you see behind me is a big pile of trash, and most of this stuff came from this area. When they resloped my pond, after the pond got dug, I didn't like the way the edges were sloped. So I had someone come back in here and re-slope it and also take out some trees. I want this more picturesque as you drive into our property. So they took out some trees, one for drainage and one just for look. So that pile of trees is behind me. We're letting that rot down over the years. But when the excavator came, you know, it was a big excavator. It could take down full-size trees and put here. And there's a lot of long trees that are hanging out of this pile. I can't drive around it. I can't really put more stuff on this pile. So what I want to do is clean up, cut off a lot of these limbs so that I can bring my excavator in here and pile this up more. And also just kind of stir that dirt and those rotten, decaying logs around so it keeps decaying. So eventually this should be just a big old compost pile. Maybe the stumps won't rot out of it, but I'll pull them out and do something else with them, burn them. But I'm trying to prevent burning as much as possible and just take all these trees and create something out of them. That's what I'm up to today. I'm going to grab that Stihl chainsaw and start trimming away on these. So what I'm doing is just exposing more new wood to the elements so that termites and it just in general bacteria can rot this pile down. I couldn't get up close to the pile with the excavator with all those limbs sticking out, so I was just going through there, cutting off all of those kind of scraggler type of limbs. It's no brain cutting. I'm not trying to cut perfect size firewood. I'm simply trying to clean up the pile so I can get closer and just kind of mix that dirt and rotten trees up. So on the first day I got Precious, my excavator, I took down a couple of oak trees, and you'll see it in the video where I was just playing with the excavator. I was just kind of learning how to use the controls, but I took a couple of those trees and put them right here. They're not that old. There's some oak trees. They're not that old. I'm going to see if there's any salvageable wood. If not, I'm just going to cut them up so we can take them and put them on that pile. I don't have a brand new chain. Both of the chains that I have been resharpened. So, which is fine. I use an Oregon motorized sharpener. I'm not good at sharpening by hand, so I get a pretty good edge back on the chain. I guess I've used all my new ones. Checking for a burr. If there's a burr, I'll turn it over. And by a burr, I mean a burr on the bar. Most of your pressure on a chainsaw is pushing down, so you'll get a burr right here from that chain pushing against here and creating a burr. You just turn it over, and next time you're at home or whatever, you file the burr off. But I think I filed the burr off in my video where I sharpened these chains. I don't think that's posted yet. We've been so busy with Piney Grove videos. We have a lot of videos where we're trying to share what we know about things. Not that we're experts, but there's certain things we have some knowledge on we'd like to share. And I did a chainsaw sharpening video, but we have so many other things going on I think people find more interesting, like pole barn building and house building and putting in a well, that we don't get around to these more I guess informative videos. But we'll get to them. Got nothing but time. I just run it for a quick second just to run in that chain before I do the final sharpening. Otherwise, if you don't If you don't do that, sometimes you'll get into that first piece of wood and your chain isn't as tight as you want it. So you do that one run in and it just gives it one trip around the pulley or one trip around the sprocket and around the bar. Seems to help. Okay, I got a sharpened chain back on the chainsaw. Now I'm trying to ease my way into the pile because it's Florida and we do have water moccasins, and I actually killed a water moccasin here. This area was so overgrown, I actually was gonna hire someone to clean it up, but I was able to get in here with the tractor, the front end loader and the bush hog and clean it up real good. So I didn't have to hire anyone, but when I was doing that and leveling, there was a big old water moccasin in here. There's no standing water right now, but that pile looks like a prime place for a cold water moccasin to be sitting, just waiting to warm up and say hello to me. So to give some perspective of what I'm doing, you probably saw me in the background cut down some live trees. So we've got a lot of pine trees here that are small and will never amount to anything. So I want to get rid of the little ones and just leave these big ones and just have a place that's pretty through here that you can mow, where there's no brush, and that you can see, and the sun's gonna shade it out. I'll try to shade it with my hand. But where you can see the homestead through the trees, so there's some privacy, but it doesn't look all brushy. Now there's still some hurricane damage here from the 2018 hurricane. All these trees that are knocked down as I spin around here, but that's what I'm gonna work on. I'm getting real low on battery, so I'm gonna capture a little bit more of this and I'll charge the battery and capture some more at the end. But I hate to cut down a live tree, but these pine trees grow quickly. They're never gonna amount to anything when they're scraggly like that and they're being shaded by the bigger ones. So what I want, clear some area through here so I can come in here with a zero turn. I'll come in here with my excavator, I'll pile all this stuff up, we'll let it rot down, we'll keep composting it. But eventually I want this so enough light comes in here to grow grass, and we can keep this bank stabilized, we can mow it, and it'll just look pretty from the road. And then eventually these trees will get big enough you can sell them, so it'll kind of be like money in the bank. Okay, for an example of what I'm trying to accomplish, right directly behind me, you'll see a spindly oak tree. It's a nice oak tree. I guess as big around as your ankle maybe, and but it's got no sunlight. It's got no room to grow. So and there's a cedar tree there as well. I'd rather have the cedar tree than the oak tree. So if I take down some of these pines around here, it'll still leave me plenty of pines. I'll still get a shaded canopy here. It'll still look good. But then I'll get an oak tree in the middle of the pines, and that'll look real pretty, be a statement. It just will enhance the property. So that's what I'm gonna do, is knock down those pine trees. Some of them are a little bit bigger than I really wanna knock down, but I want that oak tree to thrive. Okay, I've been chainsawing for a short period of time. I gotta go charge the battery in this camera. But look at this big open space I created there. All those trees are down on the ground. They're all cut up in 4-foot lengths or less. But I've really opened that up. Now I'd like to get on top of this pile. Again, I'm worried about the snakes a little bit, but get on top of that pile and cut that up a little. So I might do that while the battery's charging. Okay, I got some charge on the battery here. So this is what I got done, but you can look on the ground and see all the pine trees. I probably dropped 25 pine trees. None of them were very big. The biggest one maybe as big as your thigh. And I cut down some brush, but mainly I got all these pine trees on the ground where they will start to rot. I went up to the shed to get the camera where it was charging and looked back, and it just looks so much better from there. This just looked thick and wild, and now it looks a lot better. It's thinned out. All of the bent trees from hurricanes and high winds are all on the ground. There's a lot of standing dead trees. I got some work done back there behind that pile, but I freed up around a cedar tree and several oak trees. I think I'm done here for now. There's still some more work to do. I think I'm going to leave this alone and concentrate on another area. I'm going to walk out here into the pasture so that you can see, looking north, what that looks like now, and also what more I have to do. I don't know where you're from when you're watching this video, but I'm going to show you something that's very prevalent in Florida, and that's fire ants. I'm going to kick this mound a little bit just so you see. Now this mound is way bigger than a basketball, but I'm going to kick it a little and you can just see the bazillion queens and worker bee ants that came out, and every one of them will bite the snot out of you. But man, they're bad news. That's why it's hard to have turkeys and quail and things like that nest on the ground, because those fire ants will just destroy the nest. Well, they'll destroy the babies when they hatch. But what I'm going for is more of that look over there. You can see nothing but big trees, and you can see some space in between where you can mow and get some grass planted. I got to get some of those limbs knocked down there. I can't reach them from the ground, so I need a ladder, and that'll let more light get in there for grass. You can see, like right there in front of the camera, there's an oak tree. There's an oak tree right here in front of the camera, and you can see little pines here. Although all those little pines have to go, because they're just, you got what, 16, 18 pines right there. So, 6 of them have to go so the other ones can grow. They just can't get up to sunlight to grow and get any kind of diameter to their main trunk. So I'm going to work on this area for a little while. There's not much left here. I've done a lot of work here. And then that would be our east fence line. And of course we've got, 25, 30 feet of thickness right there on the edge of the pasture. And then we have the walkway on the other side and then the fence line. So I'll never get that completely cleaned out, but I will go down that pasture line with the excavator at some point and just knock it back maybe 5 or 6 more feet. Just get all the brush away and let things like those cedars and those oak trees flourish. But I don't want it all the way clean, because you never know what your neighbors will build next to you, and we want some privacy. I totally transformed that little area. I've taken out those 6 trees or so. It lets the ones that are there have more room to canopy. You can get more sunlight down to the ground for grass to grow, and it just looks better. I still have a couple more right there in front of the camera to take out, but my chain is getting really loose and I don't want it to fly off. So I'm gonna tighten my chain and take those 2 out. So this one looks like it's leaning from a storm. Just like when you watch one of the Piney Grove videos, it's the first time you've ever seen it. When Mrs. Piney Grove edits, a lot of times, if she's not with me, it's the first time she's seen the footage. So I waited till the battery on this camera was recharged before I went to the top of the hill, so it'll give her a little surprise when she's editing. Because I know if she was here, she would not be happy I'm going up there. But I got to get those trees cut up so they can start to rot down. A lot of what was sticking out there was stumps, so it was pretty dirty, and I could just feel my chain on my chainsaw getting duller and duller as I cut. But I loosened up the end of that stack there. And now with my excavator, I'll be able to move some of that stuff around, mix it up, get some dirt over top of some of that wood, and it'll just be easier to help this decompose quicker. I'm gonna call that mission accomplished on that pile. No sense doing something stupid and getting hurt out here. That chain's getting pretty dull. I think I can tighten it and get a few more of these little pines down, and then I think I'm gonna call it a day. I'm pretty worn out. So I got real lucky with that first one I cut in this segment. I did a notch and I did my back cut, but the back cut hit the notch, so it was completely severed and it started to come back this way, but I just grabbed it and pushed it. Usually you want to leave a little bit of a hinge so you can push, but soft pine and went right through it. Okay, so just in the space of probably 5 minutes, I totally changed how that looked there. I took down a little bit of brush, and I'll actually pull that out by the roots with the excavator. But as we swing around here, you'll see more and more, it's nothing but bigger trees. There's still a few more small ones I'll take out. And it gets easier as you take them out, because every one you take out gives you room to take out another one. But I'm gonna cut a couple more down, then I think call it a day. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up this video. I got a little bit of stuff to clean up there in the background. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you did, please click like, click subscribe. Otherwise, we'll catch you on the next one. Take care, y'all.